Hey guys, and welcome back to the ASX Investor channel, and welcome to another CEO interview. Today we will be delving into the copper sector. It's a fascinating sector. I know everybody's familiar with the green energy transition, really the focus on modernizing society. There's a lot of excitement surrounding it. Today we'll be delving into the story of Hot Chili. ASX HCH is actually the largest copper developer on the ASX. They've got a globally significant asset there, but there's been a number of really fascinating, transformative announcements over the past year. There's been an investment from the leading global player Glencore. They've recently made this move over as well with the listing over to the Toronto Stock Exchange, really joining some of the peers over there in the development space. And we're joined today by the Managing Director, Christian Easterday, to unpack the story about Hot Chili and really talk about the ASX HCH opportunity. Christian, mate, welcome to the channel.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
It is a pleasure. There's, of course, a lot of news flow and potential catalysts up ahead to discuss. But I guess before we delve into those, if you can just give that overview of who is Hot Chili and what's that opportunity that you're really trying to feed into.
Yeah, great. Look, we're as I think you've given a good summary of the company already. We're a very interestingly named company. We've been plying our trade for a number of years. We listed in 2010. But now we're really starting to develop a significant amount of momentum, transitioning from a developer towards production as one of the very few near-term major copper developers coming into the pipeline, and that is really quite unique. We're in an investment space where copper is at near record highs, at $4.52 per pound today, I believe, and when you run the numbers against our resource base and the type of project that we're putting together here, the mind boggles. So certainly we've been investing over in Chile on the coastline, building a large consolidated land holding. In the last 3 years, we took on a acquisition for Cortadera. It's really transformed our resource book. It's tripled our resource book, and we sit with about 750 million tonnes of mostly open pittable, large-scale copper resources in the ground. What is really unique for the company is that projects of this scale are hard to find, but they're even harder to find at low altitude, sitting in the middle of infrastructure in one of the top 3 mining countries. So that's a bit of a natural advantage that Hot Chili has in terms of the capital required to build the project and also the cost involved in operating the project. So at this moment, we've just come off quite a transformational year in terms of just really reshaping the company. We've consolidated our capital structure, and we're trading at around $1.80 a share at the moment. We've just completed a very exhaustive process to finally list in the North American market on the TSXV, and like you say, put ourselves amongst all of the remaining senior copper developers in the world, which all reside in North America. Names such as Philo Mining and Solaris and Jose Maria, companies that have really enjoyed quite significant re-rates with the copper price going up. And I guess we're now positioning, following that Glencore investment and obviously getting a very significant major shareholder on board that has the capability and experience to advance projects of this scale. But we're really now taking the next steps towards another major resource upgrade, pushing this project up in terms of the metal payload. We have 2.9 million tonnes of copper, 2.7 million ounces of gold, and that will grow this quarter. And then most importantly, delivering a combined pre-feasibility for this project. So a very exciting year ahead of us.
There is plenty going on there and plenty to look forward to. I guess to conceptualize it for the viewers as well, the copper sector, we know that there's a lot of excitement because of the use cases within EVs. It's going to be a key resource as well to really help to modernize society. But we hear about copper, Dr. Copper, as a barometer of global economic activity. Can you just talk about the copper opportunity that you see and why this is so important moving forward into the next decade and beyond?
Yeah, look, I think there was a few people that were talking about copper as the next oil. I'm not sure about that, but certainly copper is the pipeline that delivers the oil. the electrification revolution that's going on, copper is going to be a key input component for the transmission of power going into the future. The EV revolution that's going on in the automotive industry. What this means is that there is going to be a step change in demand. There's been a lot of people talking about this, and they've been talking about it for a number of years, and now it's starting to finally impact the price. So we're in a rapidly changing environment with the world in this pandemic. As we come out of the pandemic, there is going to be a lot of transition towards future-facing metals, and certainly copper is one of those commodities that over the past 2-3 decades we've seen head grades of copper mines reduced from 1.6% head grade down to about 0.5%. Copper grade is the average grade that's produced in the world. So not a lot of Australians really understand that space. We're very much similar to the large-scale iron ore industry that the Australians well recognise because of the Pilbara and the operations in Australia. But certainly the copper sector is dominated by large-scale supply at very low grades, and is all about economy of scale, and that's the space that we're in. You know, a lot of things that people also don't understand is how long it takes to firstly discover and develop a large-scale copper project. It's an average of 18 to 21 years from discovery through to production. That's statistics borne out over the last 30 years, and that is the real problem with copper. Is on the demand side, we see a burgeoning growth in the uses for copper going into the future, but on the supply side, we see very few major deposits being discovered, and more importantly, even if they are discovered with a larger input of investment into the exploration budgets globally, these things won't actually come online for another 20 years. So Hot Chili is in a really unique position where we're 12 years already into our journey from the first discovery at Productora on the coastline that we made at the end of the last cycle, now adding Cortadera, and now starting to really grow our resources on top of that. So we're well ahead of the crowd. I think out of the senior copper developers, there are very few at our scale that have the timelines to production that Hot Chili do. At the moment, we're aiming to produce a pre-feasibility at the end of this year, a definitive feasibility in 2024, and mine financing at that point. And all going well with global markets, this will be one of the newest large-scale copper mines coming into production in and around 2026.
Yeah, the demand-supply dynamics are really fascinating. I think on the supply side, Costa Fuego, or the broader discovery that you have under your assets, is one of only 2 discoveries on globally significant scale since 2014.
Yeah, that's right, and it's really unique. You know, when we saw Glencore invest in the company and take a 9.99% position, you know, Glencore had their choice out of a number of the senior copper developers in the world, mostly all residing in North America, and it was Hot Chili where they chose the investment. So that relates to the low altitude and the infrastructure advantage and the low capital intensity. But most importantly, there are just very few of these things being found. In 2014, Robert Friedland, a very well-known mining entrepreneur, brought the world the Kamoa discovery over in the DRC, and that was the last major, really major discovery that the copper space has seen. Since then, it's really just been Rio Tinto's Winu discovery, announced in 2020 with their first resource, and Hot Chili's Cortadera discovery. So the world's not making many of these, and even when you make these discoveries, it takes quite a bit of time and quite a bit of investment to drill them out and define them and de-risk them. So yes, we're in a very short field. So having the Cortadera discovery under our belt's been fantastic for the company and our shareholders.
So just give that overview that what Hot Chili do have with Costa Fuego now. It's consolidated between Productora and Cortadera. Can you give the overview about some of the numbers that you have now? As you've mentioned, there's still continued development as well, so the opportunity for further expansion moving forward too.
That's right. We have about 270 million tonnes at about 0.5% copper equivalent in Productora, and about 450 million tonnes on the maiden resource that we put out at the end of 2020 on our new Cortadera porphyry discovery. So last year we invested quite heavily. We've doubled the amount of drilling into Cortadera, and that was about really defining the ore body, lifting a lot of metal from inferred up into indicated class. We have parallel development studies going on, so we're very much focused on the mine life and defining a new, much more enlarged reserve for the company. So last year was really important for us to tie down the definition of Cortadera, to expand out a number of the flanks which were still left open, and we successfully completed that program. And right now our team are really working hard towards that next resource revision. And I guess where all of this goes is really pushing our resource base from an upper tier 2 asset, about 2.9 million tonnes of contained copper metal and about 2.7 million ounces of gold, and really lifting that combined asset towards a tier 1 definition of around 5 million tonnes, which we believe our land holding has all of the hallmarks that it could contain. And certainly that view is shared by our new large shareholder, Glencore. So this year is an exciting year outside of resource growth coming from Cortadera, and also some resource revisions coming from Productora and our other high-grade satellites. This year is not just about pushing us into pre-feasibility completion and moving into definitive feasibility, but it's also about the growth from within that land holding. So we started a very exciting exploration phase that kicked off mid-December, and we're moving through a series of about 12 large-scale targets, which we've been investing in on the exploration front, and now finally have the chance to be able to drill. So we have really strong treasury following the IPO listing, about 35 million of cash in the bank, and 3 drill rigs on the ground, and quite a lot of activity.
Yeah, there's plenty to go on the exploration side. I was really interested to hear any thoughts. Of course, you're currently drilling. There's a few assay results as well still coming forward. Any insights that you can provide about potential timelines or what investors should watch on that exploration side?
Yeah, sure. About a week ago, we released some of the results from the closeout drilling and infill drilling that we completed at the end of last year on Cortadera. There'll be more results that'll come in the coming weeks as we then start to see drilling and assay news flow get overtaken by the exploration phase that we're underway with. So we're currently drilling a very exciting target, a large porphyry target next to our Productora deposit. And quite a number of targets to drill within the Productora land holding before then shifting our drill rigs and shifting our attention to some really large scale porphyry cluster targets that we've got in the Cortadera and Santiago Z land holding 14 kilometers to the east. So it's certainly going to be a very exciting 6 months if we're fortunate enough to pull in another large discovery. Then I think that Hot Chili is sitting on something very unique. So certainly some excitement on the exploration growth side, but very much Hot Chili's real thrust is about moving as quickly as we can to position Costa Fuego towards a decision to mine and project financing.
And I guess just to understand the Hot Chili story as well, of course, the new major shareholder, Glencore, they're a leading global player. Love just to hear your thoughts about what you think that brings for the story, and also the types of connections that you can see in the alignment for both of the companies moving forward.
Glencore, they're one of the top 3 natural resource companies by size globally, up there with BHP and Rio Tinto and Vale. They have quite a large exposure in the copper space. I think they're the 3rd or 4th largest copper producer in the world currently. Actually, it's really quite interesting because Glencore's origins, is really through the trader Glencore taking over Xstrata and becoming one of the largest miners in the world. But prior to that, Xstrata taking over Mount Isa mines, the last time Australia had a legitimate heavyweight copper producer outside of BHP. So we're certainly, we have a lot of commonality and deal with their Brisbane office quite closely. But we've been able to see their support, not just on our board with the inclusion of Mark Jameson, has been a very key addition to our board, but also the assistance they're providing with monthly steering committee meetings that allow us to tap into that broader experience and that broader reach that Glencore have. They have a real presence in Chile, two very large operations in Chile and a number of operations in South America. But when you're a partner in Collahuasi, the third largest copper mine in the world, you have a significant footprint that we can certainly tap into. And that experience on mine development and mine operation and just progressing this project through to an optimal outcome was really what we were looking for from a strategic partner such as Glencore. So they've been very, very helpful, and I'm glad to have them on board.
And then flowing through, I guess, onto the other side of the story, exposure to the broader capital markets, moving on to the Toronto Stock Exchange as well with that listing opportunity. It's a major one. Of course, you get to join your peers over there. And there's also that additional opportunity too, to get access to a new investor crowd and to continue to raise the awareness, particularly with the closeness of the North American and South American markets too. Can you provide some insights about the opportunity that you were seeing with that and the initial uptake?
Yeah, that's right. Well, we completed the IPO capital raising. We saw a great uptake by a number of the institutions in Canada and the US, and that was quite well supported. Also, some retail interest. Our name is not well known in North America. You can say that we went through the entire Cortadera discovery phase with numerous world-class drilling intercepts, and the North Americans almost missed what had happened. So we're bringing them up to speed. We have engaged PR and IR teams that are working and continuing to engage with the North American market on a lot of virtual calls at the moment. But we've also had the addition of Nikki Adshead-Bell to our board just in the last few weeks, and she's a very, very experienced director, and she has a wealth of knowledge in the North American capital markets and in this space. So we're very much looking forward to having Nikki's contribution on the board, and also starting to really establish our presence in North America. Probably later this year, we'll be setting up a shop front there with some of our people going over to North America. And really what Hot Chili has always been is we've been a bit of an orphan over here in Australia. This large copper developer over in the Americas, and in the Americas is not really something that the Australian market invests in heavily. Certainly, we've seen some very good successes in the lithium space, with lithium prices doing fantastically well, and some great flag bearers there from Australia going over to South America in that space. But we're yet to see a real champion emerge in the copper space, and Hot Chili is wanting to be that champion for the Australian side. But look, the North Americans invest heavily in South America, know the jurisdictions and know the risks. And if you look at where all of the copper in the world comes from, you don't have to look any further than Chile. So we're certainly in the right place, and now we're enjoying both markets' attention, and we'll be looking to really expand that footprint. And as time goes on, hopefully emulate what the last major copper developer and eventually copper producer, Equinox Resources, did in the last cycle. And that was a quite dramatic re-rate as they transitioned from development into first production, and then didn't last long with a $7 billion takeover by Barrick.
And then just on that share price side as well, over the past period, Hot Chili has been trading in a relative range. I'd love just to ask you as well, there's evidently a little bit of a discount in comparison to some of the peers over on the Toronto Stock Exchange. What do you think the market might be missing, or what should investors watch for over this next period for the Hot Chili story?
I think that when you see companies such as GT Gold with their Saddle North deposits be taken over last year for $480 million by Newmont. You see South 32 make a move and take 45% of Sierra Gorda with a 20-year mine life, 0.42% copper head grade. You see Jose Maria just get eliminated with a takeover bid by Lundin in the last month. What the market is probably missing is what's beginning in the copper space. There is a lack of these large-scale assets, particularly low-risk assets. And there is a very large disconnect. For a $180 million company, we're sitting there alongside names such as Solaris and Philo Mining and Jose Maria. with very few of those companies being as advanced as Hot Chili are. So it's about market awareness. It's about having the right audience, and I don't expect miracles to happen overnight. But what I will say is that we put a lot of effort into transforming the company, putting ourselves into the right market, de-risking the book, and I think that this year is going to be very exciting. A number of things could light the fuse, and we'll be putting the money into the ground to ensure that we have every chance to be able to dramatically re-rate Hot Chili's market cap and therefore our shareholder value.
There's plenty going on for the Hot Chili story. Did you have any final reflections for the longer term shareholders for Hot Chili, or potentially prospective shareholders who might be looking at the Hot Chili story now?
Yeah, look, I know that there is some frustration with some of our retail investors wondering, just like myself, I often wonder, how does a company holding an asset of that size, in that location, with infrastructure advantage, attracting the attention of one of the top 3 miners in the world, sit here with a market capitalization that is a quarter or a fifth of probably where it should be on a peer basis. So certainly that frustration is well understood. But we've not shied away from making some pretty serious decisions with the consolidation and what we've done. So we are making all of the right moves, and I think that the context of what we're doing here, we're putting together a 20 to 30 year mine life on something that will produce around $1 billion, $1.2 billion US of revenue annually on long-term copper prices, not spot prices. The leverage that our asset and the de-risking that is now putting that at the forefront of those senior copper developers. Look, you can only hold back the wall, on the value for so long. So I think that as we progress this year, and we hit our catalysts and we hit our milestones, when we say we are going to hit them, and we move into those final stages of development, that I'm sure that the market will look after itself.
That is the Hot Chili story. It's HCH. If you did enjoy the video, don't forget to hit the like button. Feel free to share it out. We make daily videos each and every day, so make sure you've subscribed and turn your bell notifications on. Christian, Easterday, mate. There's plenty going on in the Hot Chili story, and looking forward to seeing how you progress throughout 2022 and beyond. Thanks so much for joining us.
Great. Thank you.